Hey, how are you doing today? I wanted to welcome you to another episode of the Create Your Impact podcast. My name is David Jaquetta. I'm your host, as well as a business strategist and coach for millennial business owners and impact driven leaders. And I just want to start off by saying I appreciate you for taking the time out of your day today to spend it here with me. I know that we all live busy lives. I live a busy life too. And I don't take it lightly that you're taking the time out of your day to be with me right now. So I just want to say I appreciate you for doing so. And we're going to be, talking about something super cool today, something that I think is going to add a lot of value into many people's lives. And it's the story of running my first 50K ultra marathon and the lessons that I learned along the way. Because life was just teaching me so many different things on this journey. And it was crazy what was happening along the way, and even just leading up to the event itself. And I learned a lot about myself and the world around me. And I've taken some time now to reflect on that after completing it. I completed it 2 weeks ago now. And I took those 2 weeks to just like journal and think and really feel what kind of came through for me during that time. I didn't want to just talk about it right away. I really wanted to feel it out so that I could share it with you in the clarity that I have now after breaking it down. So there's 3 key lessons that I learned along the way that I'm going to share here with you. But before I dive into those, I just want to talk about the story kind of thing of like how that even happened. I was not a big runner before. Like I had started running maybe like a couple years ago, and I actually like overdid it and I injured both of my knees, and so I had to stop. But before that, I was a hockey player growing up. I played a lot of ball hockey, which is a lot of running involved too. So I did have some like background, I guess you could say, in like athletics and stuff like that. But I was never a long distance runner before. I never really did that kind of stuff. And in the winter time of 2022, so last year, I was feeling a little bit lonely. Like I moved out to Calgary, Alberta. I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba. And if you aren't familiar with Canada, I was in the middle of Canada and I moved closer to the west coast of Canada now. And I was just like building my business and working on myself. But in the winter time, if you've ever been here for a Canadian winter, you know that it can be very challenging because you're not getting outdoors as much as you normally are in the summertime. You're not getting the sun exposure, and it has a lot of an impact on a lot of people's mental health. So I was living here. I didn't really know anybody in the city, and I just started running again. I was like, I need to get outside and just start doing something. And for some reason, walks just weren't appealing to me. I love walks, but like during the winter time, they can be a little bit tough. So I was like, I'm gonna do something that just gets me outdoors so I can get away from my screens, get away from the business for a bit, and just like do something else that helps me focus on something completely not related to my business. So I start running. January 1st was really where I started doing this. And I ran like 3K that day, and I was dying after. I was like, holy shit, that was like, that was pretty hard for me. Like I hadn't run that much. My lungs weren't there, my legs weren't really there. And yeah, I just started running, and I started trying a little bit longer distances, but I was really aware of how I had injured myself last time. So I didn't want to overdo it. And I lucked out that one of my best friends, his cousin, actually lives in Calgary, Alberta, and I've gotten to know him over the past couple years, and he's a big runner. And so I start talking to him, and I'm just like, hey man, like I'm running again now. And he really started to help me out, and he was like, hey man, like let's go for a few runs and just like have fun with it. And he honestly pushed me further than what I probably would have did on my own. But I remember we went for this one run. It was like, I don't even know how long it was. It was probably like 16K in January, sometime around then. And right after we did that run, I was like, I feel like I can run like pretty good. Like I feel like I could actually do something. So then I start looking at things online, and and one of the things that comes over is the Calgary Marathon. I've never ran in a race before in my life. I've never done a marathon. I've never done anything like that before. And something just kind of like spoke to me. It was like, do something like that you've never done before. Like, what is this going to do for you? Like, who are you going to become? Like, all of this stuff. So, I'm looking at the Calgary Marathon, and they have a 50K ultra option. And I'm just like, I feel like I have to do that one. Like, I don't know. It was just like one of those things that there's no really like logistical reasoning behind it. It was just like my intuition was like, go for that one and just like see if you can do it. It was scary, and I was like, okay, I got like 5 months to really train for this thing and try and do this. And so I start out on this journey, and it's still in the back of my mind, like, am I gonna actually sign up for it? Like, I don't know, we'll see where I'm at in like March or something. And I start training for this thing, and basically what I start doing is doing like a small run, a medium run, and a long run each week. And I think my long runs were like 10 kilometers at that time. So I was putting on like 20K a week, and I was really starting to get into it. And then February happened, and I started to travel a lot for work. I went and spoke at my university. I went to Atlanta, and I went somewhere else. But I had like 3 trips that happened like back to back to back. And I like fell out of my running groove. And I remember coming back in late February, and I was kind of thinking, I was like, man, did I just like lose everything? I didn't want to go for any more runs. It was colder outside now. And I was kind of like in my own head about everything. And then I just started running again, getting back into it. And my friend who lives here, his name's Harrison. I call him Harry. And he was just kind of like still going after it because he has a big event that he's running. So I started running again. And what ended up happening was I started to find this genuine enjoyment for it. And I started going out there and just like being immersed in nature and the outdoors. And it brought me this flow state that I never really saw coming on these long runs. Like, I don't listen to music or anything while I'm running. I just go out there, and it's just me and my 2 feet and my breath. And it just brought this like peaceful state of being to me in my life. And I know that if you haven't ran like long distances before, it's kind of hard. Like, how can it be peaceful running? Like, how can running be peaceful? And like, when you're exerting yourself like that, like, how can that be enjoyable maybe? But I was reaching this state where everything just became so clear to me. And I really felt like my mind would open up, and I could just think about things in a completely different perspective. And so what ends up happening in March is I start going for these longer runs, and I'm doing like half marathons at this time. And I just find so much enjoyment in running and just being alone with my thoughts and taking the time out of my day to go do that kind of stuff, and like learning about things too. Like, I was learning like when to eat, how much do I need to hydrate, what does my sleep need to be like the night before, what do I need to be eating the night before. I started learning about all this stuff. I was stretching. I like never stretched before. I was stretching all the time. I was meditating, and things just really started to, shift for me because of this one habit that I started implementing. And it was almost like this anchor for me as well too. Like, I had a reason and something that I could attach to. Like, I didn't drink it like at all for those 5 months. I had one night where I had a drink, and for the rest of it, I was locked in all the time. Saturday hit, I knew I was doing my long run. There was no like, oh, I'm gonna see if I like feel like it. Like, it was like, no. And I built that discipline. And so what ended up happening was I'm training, and I'm hitting all of these milestones along the way. And basically, to sum it all up, I get to May, and it's time to run the race. And I get to the race on race day, and it was just like kind of overwhelming. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I went there, and I was pumped. Like, I was ready to do this. And then there was like thousands of people at this event. And I was just like, whoa, like this is kind of crazy. So I'd never run in an event before. And previously before this, like I'd found so much peace and meditation in my running because I was doing it by myself. And sometimes it would be with Harry, but for the most part, I was doing it by myself and just enjoying myself, like while I was running around, learning about new parts of Calgary. And then I went into this race and there's like thousands of people there, and I'm just like kind of flustered a little bit. So I get into the race and I start running. And if you've ever ran a marathon before, there's like so many people running all at different speeds. Like there's people that are walking it, there's people that are light jogging, there's people that are there for that's their Olympics basically. So there was like a lot of different things happening. And when I started running, what happened was I kind of got caught up in the event, and I wasn't trying to like pace myself and do it in the way that I wanted to. But anyways, I just started like booking it, and I ran the best 30K run of my entire life. And it was like I was flying out there. Like there was I can't even describe, like I just felt like I was weightless, like I was a Giselle out there just buzzing. And I made it to like, there was this one part, I remember, there was this one part that it was the 30 something K mark, and the people who were running a regular marathon, they turned around, and the ultra marathon people kept going for like an extra 8K before they came back and joined the marathon people. And I remember getting into that space and just seeing the people that were passing by, and I was like, this looks like where people are absolutely dropping. Like this looks like this leg kills people. So I go into it and it broke me. Like I remember coming out, I was like 38K or something like that when I'd come out, and my legs were done. Like my legs were donezoed, and I was just like, I was hot, the sun was out. Things were just starting to kind of fall apart for me at that point. And fall apart is not, I wasn't like that bad, but like I was kind of falling apart physically. Like mentally I was there the whole time, but like physically my legs were literally like, bro, like we need to stop, like this is too much. And I'd remembered that I had trained a lot and that there was like extra gas in the tank, but for some reason that day, maybe it was just like the environment and like everything that was happening, or maybe it was because I was cheesing it off the start. It was tough. And I remember I was running, and I had this goal in mind that I wanted to hit. I wanted to do it in 4.5 hours. And it was kind of, I don't think it was unrealistic, but it was pretty unrealistic for my first time ever doing it. And at that point, I knew that I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't going to make it in time unless I like somehow revived myself and my legs were just perfectly fine and I ran the best 10K of my life. But what ended up happening was I started running and my legs were just like hurting so bad. And I had it in my head that I didn't want to walk at all. But I reached this point around like 42 kilometers, which is a marathon, that my legs like shut down for a second and I started walking. And I remember my like ego coming into play, and it was like, man, like, what are you doing? Like, why would you do that? And it was tough. Like, I remember just being like, I have 10 kilometers left and my legs are done right now. Like they didn't have anything left in them. And I was running on cement pavement the entire time. So like the impact that was going through my joints was really starting to affect me at that point. And I just remember like trying to run, and then my legs would give out, and then I would keep running and my legs would kind of like slow down. So I set up this like thing where I would run for like 0.8 kilometers and then I would walk for 0.2. Run for 0.8, walk for 0.2. And I just kept on doing that. And by the time I was like 2 kilometers left, like I was in a place in my mind that I had never been before. I was in a place that I didn't know was possible to get to. It was the hardest physical thing that I was doing in my life, and there was nothing else that I could really focus on at that time. I was thinking about so many people in my mind to help me get through it. Like, I can't even describe what that felt like to be in that place. But for some reason, I actually really enjoyed it. And it was pushing me beyond the limits that I had for myself. And it was really cool to go to that place because I don't think that I could ever get there unless I pushed myself beyond what I thought I was capable of. And the whole time I was reminding myself that I had been in worse positions before. Like everything that I had been through in my life leading up to that moment had prepared me for that exact moment. And I kept running, and finally heard the announcer at the finish line in the distance. And I was like, oh my goodness, I cannot wait to cross that finish line and be done this run. Like I was totally done. End up crossing the finish line, and it was emotional, but what happened next was I didn't really see it coming. What happened next was I crossed it and I got the medal, and I was just like, that was insane. Like I can't believe I just did that. But it wasn't really the feeling that I was expecting to happen, which was like really weird for me because I thought I was going to cross the finish line and it was going to be like this huge, like, oh my goodness, like I can't. But that didn't even end up happening. What actually happened was I crossed the finish line and I was like, oh, like sick, like I did that. And then after I was like, so many different things hit me and it was just really weird. It wasn't about that day. Like doing the ultra marathon was amazing, and I'm so proud of myself for doing that. And I'm so proud of the people who accomplished every other event that happened that day. But that's not what actually brought me happiness. Like it wasn't crossing the finish line that made me happy. What made me happy was thinking back to all of the memories that I had when I went on that journey, like running through the blizzards that happened, running through the pouring rain, injuring myself a few times along the way, and like getting back on the horse, going to that place where I thought that I wasn't going to be able to do it. Like there were so many things that happened along the way that contributed to helping me become the person that I am today. And that event was just icing on the cake that really helped me show that all of that training and preparation that I put in, it prepared me to do something incredible. And I kind of broke down 3 key lessons that happened that I want to share with you right now, because these were the 3 things that really stood out to me after everything that had happened. And I've really been thinking about these for the past 2 weeks to make sure that these are right and make sure that these are, the true way that I'm feeling, because I don't want to just like put out, yeah, it was amazing and like I did this and it changed my life and all these things. Like it did do all of that, but these are the real things that actually came from it. And the first one was focus on the journey instead of the outcome. It mattered more about the person you became along the way. And so this was shown to me so many different times on my runs, and running really helped me see this multiple times. Like when you go out for a long run, even if it's just like a 5K run, we can't focus on getting to the 5K, the 10K, or whatever distance you're running. If you focus on the end, everything in between becomes so much harder to do. Like all of the running that you're trying to do to lead yourself to 5K, to 10K, to 20, or whatever it may be, it is impossible to not enjoy that part if you're only focused on getting to that end. And what I found was if I go on those long runs and I fixate on that distance that I'm trying to run, it really hinders you from enjoying the experience and actually going through the moment that's happening, because you're so fixated on the destination. And that has happened to me so many times in my life and in my business too, where I get caught up in focusing on the outcome and I forget to enjoy the process. And I'm not too sure if that's something that happens for you as well too, but running really showed me that. This event really showed me that. And it really just helped me see that if you can enjoy the process of going through the journey, that is where you're going to find the most happiness and fulfillment. The destination is the icing on the cake. And what really matters is that you dedicate yourself to something that matters for you. You don't do something because of what it brings to you. This is the main difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So intrinsic motivation is motivation that comes from within you because it's something that you genuinely care about it. You do the activity because it brings you enjoyment and you do it for you. Extrinsic motivation is when you're motivated for an external reason. Somebody's telling you to do it, you want a reward or trophy, you're trying to avoid punishment, whatever it may be, it's an external reason for motivation. And what I found was when you use the intrinsic motivation and you truly do it from the internal passion and the meaning that it brings to you, that is when you can do incredible things. And really where I believe the key kind of overlap this happens with life is the ego versus the true self. The ego wants the rewards. The ego wants the attention. It wants the glory. The true self just wants to do something meaningful, something that brings you happiness and fulfillment in doing the activity because you actually care about it. And when you start to act from that place, that changes everything for you, because now you're not fixated on the reward or the outcome, but you're focusing on the growth that happens for you. And you truly do become a better person along the way when you chase something meaningful. You go through so many ups and downs, challenges, obstacles, opportunities, and you start to become a different person along the way. And when you do this, you can start to see that personal growth is truly the win. And that's what I really found with running this 50K ultra marathon. Like, yes, it was an amazing accomplishment. I have this medal. I don't know if you can see that. I got a medal. I did it. Wow, that's amazing. But that doesn't really matter to me. What mattered to me was the person that I became along the way, the healthy habits and routines that I developed, the mindset, the discipline, and doing something that I truly cared about and something that brought me happiness and fulfillment in my life. And that was the real win for me. The second lesson that kind of came through for me was we limit ourselves with our minds so much, and we're so much more capable than we thought we were. We are so much more capable than we think we are. You limit yourself with your mind on what you're capable of on a daily basis. And it only happens because that's the way that we're set up. As human beings, we're set up to survive instead of thrive. And so our primal instincts are things that try to protect us. And so when something comes that challenges you beyond what you think you're capable of, our first reaction to it is protecting ourselves. I don't want to do that because that's scary. That's outside of my comfort zone. What if I fail? What if I can't do it? We limit ourselves with our minds. And what I've found throughout this journey, and this is something that I've been hooked on for like 7 years now, is the power of your own mind. And I continue to learn about it, continue to do things that help me understand my own mind, because this is something that I truly love helping people with, is understanding that they're able to do more than they thought they were. They're more capable than they thought they were. And all it takes is really this belief in yourself. And one of the things that really came through for me, which was a super powerful thing that I was doing, was repeating mantras and affirmations. And when I was going for these runs, I was literally repeating affirmations and mantras while I was running, while I was at home, the whole time. Like if you saw me running out in Calgary, you probably would think I'm crazy, because I was repeating like, I can do this. You got this, brother. Let's go. I will run 50 kilometers on May 28th at the Calgary Ultra Marathon in Calgary, Alberta in 2023. I will run 50 kilometers at the Calgary Marathon in Calgary, Alberta in 2023. I will run 50 kilometers on May 28th, 2023. I repeated that 10 times a day probably, and I believed it to my core. And I just continued to repeat that to the point where it was March and I was like, there's no way that I'm not doing this. Like, I've already completed this. It has already happened inside of me, and I just need to go live the experience. I was repeating that on every single run I was doing, everything that I was doing in the gym, the food I was eating, taking ice baths, every single thing that I was doing, I was repeating that, because that allowed my mind to focus on a singularity. And I blocked out the self-doubt, the worry, the fear, what other people thought about me. I was very focused on that. And so whatever goal that you're trying to chase or go after in your life, repeating mantras and affirmations is an amazing way to train your mind to begin to focus on something that you truly want to accomplish. That is how you're going to start to build the self-belief within yourself. And the other thing that follows that is actually going out and taking actions. If you can pair the mindset work and taking action, you become unstoppable. And that's pretty much what I, without pumping my own tires, what I felt like happened to me. I felt like I became unstoppable, and my mind, body, and spirit were all aligned with the mission that I was going after and the goal that I wanted to accomplish. And so I had paired something with something that I thought was meaningful in my life, something that built my competence, which was my belief in my abilities, and something that built my mind to believe in myself more than I thought I was capable of. And that just set me on this trajectory to going and doing something incredible. And I'm a regular person. Like, one thing that kind of happened after was a lot of people were saying like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you did that. Like, how did you do that? And one of the things that I kept on saying to people was like, you could do this too if you wanted to. Like, if you truly made the commitment to yourself and gave yourself the time to train for it and put in the reps, put in the preparation, you can do whatever you want. But we limit ourselves. Like, we see somebody else doing something and we're like, wow, I don't think that I could ever do that. And that's the first part. If you don't believe that you can do it, then you're right. But if you believe that you can do it and you just need to give yourself some time and some practice, then you're right, you can do it. It's literally a mindset. Like, the physical component of all of this stuff was really challenging. I'm not gonna downplay that, but it was way more mental than it was physical. And it was really tough physical, but the mental component was everything. And so we limit ourselves so much on what we're capable of. And I really found this kind of hack, if you will, for my mind, body, and spirit that helped me go out and accomplish this. And the last lesson that I learned that I thought was really important was do something meaningful in your life. Because when you do something meaningful, it provides you with a sense of purpose. And I know that a lot of people are searching for that sense of purpose in their life. And what we need to do is understand what is meaningful to us and what can we begin to direct our energy towards. It doesn't have to be your life's purpose and the thing that makes your whole life this thing. Focus on doing something for you, because when you have that one thing, you're able to start directing your energy towards it. Now there's a reason to not watch Netflix every day. Now there's a reason to go outside and train. Now there's a reason for you to want to wake up in the morning, to eat healthy, to stretch, to do whatever it may be. There's a reason for you to practice these healthy habits and routines because you've attached a reason behind it. And that reason provides you with a sense of purpose and direction in your life. And so when I directed myself towards this goal, what happened was I felt a deep sense of purpose in my life going after this. And in doing so, it provided a lot of purpose in every other aspect of my life too. And so that was one of the coolest things that really happened, was like picking something, directing my energy towards it, and really finding that deep sense of purpose that came throughout my training. And now that I've done it now, I really want to direct myself towards another thing. And I think that physical activity and doing something through fitness or wellness is an amazing thing to have that purpose and direction to start things for yourself, because that's really the cornerstone to self-improvement and to personal growth, is practicing these healthy habits and doing something for yourself physically, because that's really where you can change your mindset to see that you're capable of more than you thought you were. And now it starts to bleed into other aspects of your life. So those were the 3 lessons that I really learned. Focusing on the journey instead of the outcome. We limit ourselves with our minds, and we're so much more capable than we think. And doing something meaningful in your life will provide you with a sense of purpose each day, and it's going to completely change things around for you. And so those were the 3 things that really came through for me throughout that experience. I welcome any questions that you guys have. You can hit me up on Instagram at David Jaquetta. If you're watching this, or if you're still listening to this, I really appreciate you for taking the time out of your day to be here with me, because I don't take it lightly that you take that time out of your day, and I'm extremely grateful that I got to share that experience with you, because it meant so much to me over these past 5 months, what really happened. And it's incredible what can happen over the course of 5 months. And so wherever you're at right now, like, just know that if you truly dedicate yourself to something that you find meaningful, and you put your head down, you put in the work, and you really work on developing yourself as a person while you're going towards that goal, you are going to do something special in your life. So I hope that this episode resonated with you. If it did, please share this with your friends and family. Share it on your Instagram story so we can help this thing grow organically. I appreciate you, and I want to leave you with a journaling question right now. The journaling question is what do I want? What do you want in your life? And I think that when you ask yourself that question, the first thing that's going to come through for you is maybe you've never really asked yourself that question, because that's what happened for me when I started asking myself that question. And a lot came out just from that one question about what I truly want in my life, and the way that I want to live it, and the things that I want to happen, and the people that I want, and all of these different things. And it's really led me to chasing this dream and this vision that I have for myself, into bettering myself and helping other people do that, helping other people grow as a person, and build businesses that impact the world in a positive way. And so wherever you're at in your journey right now, I really want you to ask yourself that question. What do I want? I'm excited to see what comes up for you. I appreciate you, and I hope you have an amazing day. Take care.